Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Rentz here, host of the Raiders Report, and today's show is sponsored by 8 Sleep. Does anybody out there have a little bit of trouble sleeping? You can be honest, it's all good. I get night sweats. Alex, she likes the room to be as warm as possible. I like it to be cold. Luckily, our sleep is elevated thanks to today's sponsor, and if anybody wants to go get started, it's 8sleep.com/chatsports. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So coming up here on the Raiders Report, the Raiders are looking to trade up into the NFL draft. However, it might not be where you think, because I don't know about y'all. When I hear Raiders are trying to trade up into the NFL draft, I'm sitting there going, all right, pick 1, pick 2, or is it pick 3? I hate to break it to you, according to Sean Reed from The Athletic, it might not be any of those picks. I'll tell you what that report is here in just a second, but if the Raiders do make a trade, we're going to go live here on the show. And there's a part of me that wonders, do the Raiders make a trade on draft night? And if you don't already know, we will be live for the entire 2024 NFL draft. Every single pick, every single round, we will be here, and we will get the picks before you see them on TV. Heck, sometimes we're a few picks ahead of what you see on television. So hit that subscribe button, join us on draft night, and be ready, because if the Raiders trade up, we're balling here. So if you don't know, the report is from The Athletics to Sean Reed, and he says the Raiders have explored trading up from pick number 13, which not really is anything new out there. I reported about 3 weeks ago that the Raiders are doing everything in their power to try to go up and get Jaden Daniels. Ian Rappaport has indicated that the Raiders are interested in trading up. Like, this is just one of those situations where I think every single NFL team has to know the Las Vegas Raiders, Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco, they want to trade up for a quarterback based off of multiple reports, based off of a lot of smoke. The full report, though, from The Athletic and Deshaun is that the Raiders could move up to picks 5 or 7, which this has not been discussed yet to my knowledge. And the only way that the Raiders end up trading up, which this is the correct answer, the only way you move up in the NFL draft is if you go for a quarterback. The risk, though, is what if you trade up and your guy's not there? So the full report here is this. The Raiders have been exploring trading up, and maybe not as high as you think. According to league and team sources, it may be unrealistic to swing a trade to move into the top 3 picks, considering the Bears, Commanders, and New England Patriots need quarterbacks. To me, if the Raiders trade up to the top 3, it's for Jaden Daniels, and he's the only guy. Like, I do anticipate that there's going to be quarterbacks taken, right, in the top 3 picks. Like, Caleb Williams to me is going to be the number 1 player off the board. Then the question is, who's next? Is it Drake May? Is it Jaden Daniels? Could it be an entirely different quarterback? Maybe like a J.J. McCarthy, who's been getting a lot of hype. Keep rolling here on this report. Telesco has also had conversations centered on potentially trading for picks in the 5 to 7 range, which are owned by the Chargers at 5, the Giants at 6, and the Titans at 7. Tom Telesco was previously the general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers, which maybe he has that connection, maybe he has that relationship, because to me, the Titans, they got their quarterback. The Chargers, they have their quarterback. The Giants, though, based on reports, they are looking for a QB. So I don't know if those teams would be willing to trade back. Out of those scenarios, I actually think that Tennessee is probably the most likely at pick number 7. Coming up here, which quarterback was linked to the Raiders in picks 5 to 7? If you see a few gray hairs, it's probably because of the quarterback that was linked here for Las Vegas. Before I get into that, though, shout out to today's sponsor, 8 Sleep, and sleep to power a whole new you. Today's episode is brought to you by 8 Sleep, the high-tech solution to your age-old sleeping issues. 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover slips right over your mattress, bringing heating and cooling tech that keeps you comfortable and sleeping deeper for a better, more restful night. I love 8 Sleep because it has totally stopped my night sweats. I like to snuggle with my dog Chuck, but my man is a warm dude. Thanks to 8 Sleep, I don't wake up sweating and get a better night's sleep. The pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover can be added to any bed like a fitted sheet and allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. In addition to keeping you at the perfect temperature all night, the pod also tracks your sleep and health metrics. On average, pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just a month on the pod. So Nation, go to 8sleep.com/chatsports and get $200 off plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. Invest in the rest. you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. I think if anybody watched that or heard anything that I just said, legitimately my favorite thing and my biggest takeaway about it is this. I like to sleep when it's cold. Alex, my fiance, likes it warm. Then we got Chuck, who's a 75-pound dog that just always finds his way either in between my legs or dude sleeps right here. He's warm. And when I sweat, which I don't want to do in my bed, I don't sleep as well. This legitimately, how cold it is on your back, it's weird at first. That's just being real. But after you just get used to it for one night, you sleep so much better. There's also not that awkward. I got to put my leg out outside of my sheet and wonder if the boogeyman is going to come up and reach and get me. Not going to happen anymore. Shout out to our sponsor, 8 Sleep. Now let's talk about something that is going to keep me up at night, and that's the idea around the Raiders trading up for J.J. McCarthy, because according to The Athletic, the type of trade that could be made to put the Raiders in range for another trade up later or a player at another premium position. But it mostly makes sense if it's a move up for a quarterback like Michigan's J.J. McCarthy. So essentially what The Athletic is saying here is that if the Raiders do move up to picks 5 or 7, it would be with the understanding that they're not going to be able to get one of their top quarterbacks in the top 3. However, since they do still need a QB, they could still land another potential quarterback, and maybe that's J.J. McCarthy. My question of the nation, and I believe it's the first of this show, scale from 1 to 10. I'm talking confidence level. Confidence of 1, you're not confident at all. Like 1 would be me giving you brain surgery. Like, you don't want that, right? 10 would be Chug's doing a boot type level of confidence. So how confident are you in J.J. McCarthy scale from 1 to 10? Let me know down below. My confidence level in J.J. McCarthy is a 3. Like, I think J.J. has an opportunity to be an okay quarterback in the NFL. He's not a QB that I would take in round 1. And trading up for McCarthy would be an organizational failure. Like, not only do I not want the Raiders to draft McCarthy at 13, the idea of you giving up multiple first-round picks to go up and get a kid who has not really shown you enough tape at the NFL level of making NFL caliber throws to do it. I get it. He's 27-1 all-time career at Michigan. But he won because of his defense and the team he was on, not really because of him. Did he shine? Yes. Was he a good leader? Absolutely. Is his toughness there? There is no doubt about all of those things, which are important to the Raiders. But based on my conversations from the NFL Combine, I mean, I talked to 3 different scouts, okay? One NFL scout told me he looked like a quarterback you shouldn't draft in round 1. Another scout told me that he's going to be a top 10 pick overall. Another scout told me that he's the biggest wild card of the draft. And when you think about the biggest wild card of the draft to me, that means like there are some people that think McCarthy is the second, third best quarterback in this year's Classic. There are people that think he legitimately can go top 3. Based off what I saw at the Combine, I was not impressed at all. Like, the throws that he was making, he overthrew 3 out of the 4 in just the Combine. Like, I know JJ is a good athlete. His 3-cone drill, if you like that, dude can run. Dude's going to be a good athlete. What I'm worried about McCarthy and the way that I kind of see him and his career going is, imagine, like, I had very high hopes for Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, I don't think has lived up to quite what people expected him in from Clemson to where he is now at Jacksonville. To me, Trevor Lawrence is like here. J.J. McCarthy is like your Dollar General version of Trevor Lawrence, where Trevor can use his legs, but you're not drafting a quarterback that high just to be a runner. You want him to be able to throw the football. That's the type of quarterback that I see Lawrence or J.J. McCarthy being, a Dollar General version of Trevor Lawrence. J.J.'s going to be good. He's probably going to have a chance to be a top 20, but I don't think he's ever going to be a top 10 QB, and that's just not somebody that you trade up for, in my personal opinion. So here's the other thing about my whole take on the Raiders trading up to 5 and 7. If the Raiders trade up to picks 5 and 7, I'm still hoping, and I hope that it's still for the opportunity to get Jaden Daniels. Because like when I originally saw this report, I was like, what if the Raiders traded up to 5, 6, or 7? That way they could just figure out a plan, a strategy, which is one thing that I do want this team to do. You figure out a plan, you figure out a strategy, and you're like, all right, we're at 5 and 6. We've already had to move on from a few other draft picks. We had to, plan ahead. We're doing all that kind of stuff. But what if the hope was that for you to still be able to trade up on draft night? And according to Deshaun Reed, that is a possibility. It's worth noting that the Raiders could also trade up twice. Just an example, they could trade up to 5 and then attempt to use that to move up again to number 3. Like, if I'm the Raiders, here in this type of strategy, it's not a bad idea at all. Like, what you can't have happen. They're like, this is the biggest risk that you could possibly take. Like, I'm telling you right now, this is a big risk. And based off people who I talk to, Antonio Pierce does not have a long leash. Like, he's got to be able to go out there and he's got to be able to prove it. I'm saying Antonio Pierce has got 2 years to be able to prove it. If he doesn't prove it in 2 years, hasta la vista, baby. He's going to go somewhere else, and it's probably not going to be here with Las Vegas. So if you have an opportunity to trade up to pick 5, 6, or 7, figure out, all right, these are going to be the remainder of our draft picks for this year, next year, so on and so forth. That also then helps you plan in free agency because, like, let's face it, I want the Raiders to be able to plan in free agency, and what you can't do is plan on getting a quarterback. You trade up for a quarterback at picks 5 and 7, then none of your QBs are there in the draft, and then you missed out on everybody in free agency. That's a risk. We'll see what the Raiders decide to do. So coming up next here is going to be some NFL Combine quarterback rumors. We're going to be talking about free agency. We're going to be talking about the draft a little bit more. And the reason why I want to add this in is because to me, it does paint a little bit more of a clearer picture of what the Raiders could potentially do this offseason. So let's roll through some of these real quick. Right now, based on what we are told here, the Falcons are very interested in Kirk Cousins. I know last week I said that Justin Fields, I think he ends up going to Atlanta. I'm telling y'all right now, and I was also on this show before saying that Kirk Cousins was the number 1 most likely quarterback to play with the Raiders. That ain't happening anymore. Like, Kirk Cousins now, I don't even think I'd put him in my top 5 based off the information that we have been given. To me, Kirk's going to be an Atlanta Falcon. Like, it sounds like that one is getting closer and closer to being a done deal. If Kirk doesn't go back to Minnesota, he's going to be in Atlanta. Justin Fields could be traded for a 3rd-round pick, and I know I've said before that I don't really think it makes a lot of sense to put Fields and Luke Getsy together. I don't think it makes any sense. But if you're the Raiders or if you're an NFL team, what if you traded the 3rd-round pick for Justin Fields, and then you could do everything else that you wanted to do in free agency, or if you wanted to go out and do it even in during the draft as well. Baker Mayfield isn't a lock to return to Tampa Bay, though, based on recent reports from the NFL. He could be getting $30 to $35 million per year. Another name, as I'm recording this live, Russell Wilson. He's just been released by the Denver Broncos, and I'm going to say that I was the first person here amongst Raider Nation to explain the idea around the Raiders signing Wilson at a vet minimum contract at $1.21 million. If you want to check out that video, go on YouTube, type in Raiders Report, Russell Wilson, and you'll see the video that I made 2 months, almost 3 months ago at this point. More quarterback rumors that we've heard. The Raiders want Jaden Daniels at quarterback. Like, it's not even a secret anymore. It's not. Like, if you think that this is a secret, and if you get upset about me saying that the Raiders want Jaden Daniels, that's on you, because it's been reported by every single person out there, and if you don't know it at this point, you're just not paying attention. The Raiders, if they sign a QB this offseason, it's going to be for cheap. Originally, I thought that they could potentially sign a QB like a Kirk Cousins and then draft a Bo Nix. Based on what I'm being told right now, that's not going to happen. If they sign a quarterback in free agency, it is merely, and I mean merely, for a cheap deal to put with like a veteran with Aiden, and then you're going to go out and draft a quarterback, because this is a team, this is an organization that wants to build their offensive line. They want to be able to build pieces and use free agency more than what they originally expected. If you remember, Tom Telesco at the Combine said, we're going to have to use free agency more than I have in years past. So to me, the Raiders 100% will draft a quarterback in the 2024 NFL Draft. The question is, where is it going to be? I also know that the Raiders are very split on JJ. I have heard from certain people from the Raiders that they love JJ, and then there are other people that aren't as high on McCarthy, and I think it's because they're high on a few other prospects. Like Telesco, from what I'm being told, still loves Bo Nix. However, Bo Nix was not good at the Senior Bowl, and he was not good at the Combine, and that is from multiple people who were at both saying, like, you don't draft Bo Nix in round 1. I've been trying to say it for months. I know some people are going to have their opinion no matter what, but I would be very nervous about taking Bo Nix in round 1, and I'd even be a little bit nervous about taking him at pick 44. And then the next one is this. Michael Penix Jr. injury history. It's not a worry. It's not a worry for NFL teams. It's not a worry for Telesco. And when Telesco spoke to the media at the Combine, the biggest thing that he was concerned, and he literally said his biggest concern was medical. Now that the medical ended up checking out and Penix went out there and did his thing, like, I think Penix was the best quarterback at the Combine from top to bottom, being just a thrower of the football, considering Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels did not throw. To me, Michael Penix Jr., he's now put himself in the conversation to be, in my opinion, that number 4 quarterback behind the top 3. So in conclusion, the Raiders are going to try to get a QB. Not a shocking news source at all. They are going to draft one this year. Book it. Put it in your notes right now. The Raiders will draft a quarterback this year. It's just a matter of, are they going to try to trade up for Jaden? That's plan A. If they're unable to get Jaden, do they still try to take a quarterback at 13? Do they try to trade up to those picks 5 or 7? Or do they try to trade up into the back half of the first round, which is kind of where I think this team does end up going, because every single year something happens. There's going to be a quarterback that slides, whether that's Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., or somebody like J.J. McCarthy. Our most recent report was that 6 QBs could go in round 1. If that is the truth, it's going to be very interesting to see what the Silver and Black do this offseason at QB.